Hey everybody, this is Laith Marouf from Free Palestine TV, and we are in Beirut, Tahi, southern suburb. Before we continue with this programming, I ask you to press the subscribe button on whatever social media platform you're watching this on, and to go to our website, freepalestine.video, to donate so we can continue bringing you this content. Today we have a special guest with us, all the way from Basque country, Asier Herranz. Thank you very much for coming, and if nobody knows, this is the flag of the Basque. Inshallah will be liberated, just like Palestine will be liberated. Asier, there's so much that we need to inform the audience about.
Indeed.
And our first question to you is, as a person from the Basque, why are you here in Beirut?
Well, أتمنى أن تكون بخير, and well, تشرفنا بمعرفتك. It's really a pleasure being able with you in Free Palestine TV, and you carry out a great job which all over the world for people who are not able, like me, to speak perfect Arabic. We can indulge in and get into new information on the terrain. And yeah, indeed, well, what brings me to Lebanon is a deep love towards people who have given everything, who have given their life concerning the improvement of the world scenario, which is quite dire nowadays, and being heartbreak, being dahiye with someone who personally I have been deeply inspired by since I was almost a toddler, and watching his speeches after 2006 when I was just 10 years old. It was such a tipping point, an inflection moment, and Sayyed Hassan Nasrallah and his comrades has been steadily in a progressive fashion being over and over more known throughout Europe, and even in the Basque country where I come from, actually from the city of Bilbao.
We are at the site of the assassination of Sayyed Hassan Nasrallah and his comrades. You mentioned obviously the effect of Sayyed Hassan Nasrallah on your upbringing, of understanding of resistance and so forth. The audience that we're talking to probably doesn't know the history of the Basque, how it was occupied by the French and the Spanish. But first, before we talk about the history of the Basque struggle, where were you when the assassination of Sayyed Hassan Nasrallah happened?
Well, it's right, poetic aspect, appallingly poetic. Since that very day, the 27th of September, I will just never forget that very moment when we were remembering our martyrs. Since on the 27th of September, we hold Yawm al-Shuhada al-Basque al-Watam, the day of the Basque soldier, which is called Gudari Eguna in our mother tongue in Basque. And I was along with Palestinian and Algerian friends, and a Palestinian friend of mine from Gaza came and told me, Asier, Nasrallah today al-Maut, and well, he was learning Basque, my language, and I was like, no, it can't be possible, I cannot trust this. And I will always remember that very instant when he conveyed that to me, and my mind couldn't just believe it. Unfortunately, as hours went by, we realized it was true, and how Sayyed Hassan was so attached by his groundwork, by his foundation, and being still in Hotait here in Dahieh, and rejecting other offers to go abroad. And of course, after the events that were held that day on the 27th of September, as I mentioned, everyone was speaking about this attack on Hotait. And we just, even though many of us are mulhed and don't believe in God, we're praying, we're saying, we hope that's not true. Anyhow, Sayyed Hassan, his last speech, which we saw completely, and he was with the humbleness that characterizes him, explaining which mistakes had been committed. And he, as I could sense on his tone, was, I'm not gonna say preparing for his martyrdom, but he already was aware that a chance could take place. And indeed, we weren't surprised whatsoever, knowing how much level of economical warfare has been held against Lebanon. And I'm not justifying everything, however, it's something we are seeing in Cuba and Venezuela, its leaders, and we are so inspired by it. It's just a constant aspect.
Yeah, I mean, definitely when we all heard the news of the assassination, we didn't believe it in the beginning. I mean, until actually some people, until the funeral of Sayyed Hassan Nasrallah, were still, even on that day, almost imagining him rising, like, you know,
Phoenix.
a resurrection, like a phoenix, like Jesus, like the al-Mahdi. And obviously this is put here temporarily as a place marker for his assassination. But yes, that relationship of the masses, the people, to such a figure, losing them in such ways, a lot of people didn't believe it, as you said, and it took us a long time to, even till today, you know, anytime I hear his voice, when somebody puts a clip from his speeches, it just makes you, you know, shiver like this.
That's a word.
We hope this land over the centuries has birthed many resistance leaders like Sayyed Hassan Nasrallah, and we hope his blood and the blood of the martyrs, the hundreds of and thousands of martyrs in this country, will help fertilize this land with and birth more martyrs.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. The Basque, you know, many people here, especially this new generation, don't know much about the history of the Basque. Let's start with that, the struggle of the Basque, and then we can tell people about the long-term history of relationship between our resistance here and in Basque country. So what's the main issue right now? What are the demands of the Basque people? How can we help?
Before switching gears to what you have mentioned, the funeral day was something mind-boggling. I had the chance to come with other Basque mates.
Yes, you were here. Yes, please tell us about that.
Yeah, I attended, close to Karim Shamoun Stadium here, and throughout that morning, those masses seen with such a level of top-notch magnitude. And if you have a look at the Lebanese demography and how many people were involved in all the troubles that were, and I want to remark mainly by our dear friend Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who impeded coming delegations from certain revolutionary places and states and diplomatic
I sense you were being sarcastic there.
Definitely.
So clearly the Turkish government of Erdogan was blocking people flying through Istanbul to come to
I've got
Beirut.
friends who were coming from Cuba, from Venezuela, from Colombia, and all of a sudden they told me, Asier, I can't visit your friend since I am currently stuck over here. And they've told me that, out of the blue, some troubles have arisen, And later on, we realized it was something utterly premeditated. And yeah, coming back to your question, which I appreciate and deem as pertinent indeed, concerning our nation, we are occupied and currently suffering constant repression by two regimes, which are the French and the Spanish regime. Since we have our own language, which is Basque language, and has been constantly harassed, prohibited, ridiculized. And well, when it comes to the northern side, the continental side, the one that belongs to the French regime, everyone over there 100 years ago spoke Basque, and French wasn't known whatsoever. And they made use of the First World War 110 years ago and stuff, and they displaced them completely from the three provinces we have up north. And you in Lebanon know it for sure what being a French colony stands for, and in many aspects, correct me if you don't share my opinion, Lebanon and its authorities can be considered still a French protectorate. We just need to have any banknote and Banque du Liban, and yeah, any currency and stuff, and that speaks volumes. So we know what this is about, and how since Salah al-Din times and the Crusaders and the Capet France, you have been witnessing this, and we as Basque workers have been suffering too, in a different degree perhaps. However, they want to assimilate and erase our nation. That's concerning the French aspect, and concerning the part occupied by the Spanish regime, which is where I live. I come from the coastal city of Bilbao. You are completely aware about the Franco regime, and even before that, our nation tried to be utterly erased and vanished, as it happens with our fellow sisters and brothers in Catalonia, in Galicia, in Andalusia. Al-Andalus, for instance, it will ring a bell, no wonder. And yes, Spain is currently a jail of different peoples. And don't get me wrong with this again, I'm not advocating for any sort of partition as George Sykes and Jean-François Picot applied with you. It has nothing to do. I mean, we need to, remove our glasses and leave any sort of Eurocentrism aside, and always apply the conditions of each context where they belong to. And yeah, we are advocating for istiglal, for independence, for ishtirakia, for socialism indeed. And there is a vast movement in the Basque country which is currently fighting for that. And we understand it is absolutely intertwined with Mihual Mukawama, with the axis of resistance, even though all the Arabophobia, all the Iranophobia is a constant propaganda war machine by this very same structures which oppress us, that are in ultimate case the ones that are oppressing you.
The location here, on the day of the assassination of Sayyed Nasrallah, 65 5-ton bombs were thrown on this block.
Indeed.
And in a way it shows us how much the enemy, the Zionist, the imperialist, feared Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, because this is the largest amount of explosives used to kill one person in the history of humanity.
Even more than the 12 days war and the first ones when it comes to the bombing. It's mind-boggling.
Yes, for one person.
Indeed.
For one person. Tell us about the struggle of Basque warriors. There's many that are imprisoned, and they have relationships with our prisoners. Tell us about that situation of the Basque warriors.
Well, right now we have around less than 200 Mukatalensi Asiin, political prisoners, which are spread around the French regime jails and the prisons which belong to the Spanish state. And they haven't given up on their cause, the very same cause that brought them to jail, which was the fact that we didn't actually recognize, neither legitimize nor normalize any sort of normalization, not concerning a Zionist entity, but concerning a structure which hasn't been reformed as they purportedly sell on the media. And I'm, needless to say, speaking about the sort of swaps and changes that occurred after General Franco passed away, the very same one that on the 26th of April, 1937, carried out the bombings of Guernica and many other Basque villages against our own civilians, as we are seeing right now in Gaza. Of course, what is taking place in Gaza is much worse, don't get me wrong. I don't want to just equal situations. However, we have suffered and we are suffering a great deal too.
And it shows also, of course, the story of Franco shows how the West has no problem with fascists, with Nazis, as long as they're on their side. And they kept Franco in power until he died in 1975, yeah. I was young, but...
You're still young.
Yes.
You're younger.
Yes, so 1975, so, people don't realize how long this man was in control. And to thwart any democracy after the death of Franco, the West brought back the royal family of Spain.
True.
So there is a lot of those 200 somewhat political prisoners. They also lived in the same prisons as some of the most famous political prisoners in this region. The latest one being released was
Georges Ibrahim Abdallah.
Okay, so tell us about that relationship in jail between those resistance groups and how it helped build this internationalist, liberationist thought in many of these movements.
They have been, no wonder, a source of inspiration for us. And this sort of Muqatalin Siyasiyin, which have been spread throughout the very two states who are oppressing us, have had deep relationships and constant movements to get in touch, not only inside the very cells and the chapels, but however also outside as well. And needless to say, now Georges Ibrahim Abdallah and his comrades have admittedly made some remarks about how the Basque resistance helped them in order to carry out those military operations against the oppressors, and that's something we feel utterly proud of. And the best way to return that pride is not by clapping them or by just praying on them, but by continuing fighting till we die, till we either get victory or we are martyred. There is no any other dualism concerning that.
So it's just getting a little bit hot for you, Asier. So Asier,
Kalilan. Oh,
put on this hat.
Shukran Yasilan Sadiki.
Yeah. And is it? Yes.
Yeah, Fatah Jamil.
Yes. He's a Fatah Jamil. Okay. A question here. Obviously, there is a long history of collaboration between the Basque revolutionaries and revolutionaries in this region, including the Palestinians, the Algerians, and where not many people know this, but in the beginning of the Islamic Revolution in Iran, the Basque rebels were crucial in bringing weapons and training to the newly born revolution. How does that history connect to the reaction today in Basque country to the genocide in Gaza, to the resistance in the region. How did the Basque people take those historical moments of the beginning of al-Aqsa flood and the attacks on Lebanon? How was their reaction as a people?
I reckon your query is spot on, since on the one hand we must always bear into consideration how we've been and we are still constantly being oppressed by sharing our thoughts when we apply to the rights of the working class and our independence as a nation, since we will never consider neither French nor Spanish. And my relatives, my friends have all suffered prison and have endured so dire conditions, as we have stated before. And a point which is valuable to articulate would be the very fact that as we are constantly being harassed and judged by expressing our opinions, and be said that we are apologizing or we are glorifying violence and terrorism, when Tufan al-Aqsa took place October 7th, 2023, we realized it was now or never concerning how we could take out the streets and support and vindicate an armed struggle which is as legitimate as our ones have been since our Basque revolutionary movement was created at the end of the 1960s. And that's why we are so proud to articulate that throughout all Europe and throughout, don't want to be cocky while carrying out this remark, but all the world, the biggest demonstrations in favor of the Mukawama have taken place in the Basque country.
They're in favor of resistance, armed resistance, not just in favor of Palestinian rights or human rights.
That's the point, and that's where our main quarrels take place. Since many cowards and many people who try to sugarcoat the two-state solution and the democracy in Israel, and once Mileikowski, so-called Netanyahu, whose name is Mileikowski, leaves, situations could be normalized and returned to October 6th. We will never accept that scenario. The Zionist entity has to be destroyed. We know what has happened with Algeria, with Vietnam, or with South Africa, and we are not accepting any other state of affairs. Then it was instantly when people took to the streets, not just demanding a ceasefire, which is something which is definitely necessary, don't get me wrong. However, that's absolutely insufficient. Or asking for the boycott. Yes, Mukata, all right. We all carry out the Mukata. But that's a tiny measure concerning the weapons our enemy holds. And they bear a vast array of mechanisms and tools they use around us and against us, not every now and then, but 24/7. Therefore, everyone took to the streets, and we can speak about certain photos I will grant you later on, to see how we had our Basque flag, the alam, which name is Ikurriña, along with the Palestinian flag, but not only the Palestinian flag, since an aspect which sets us on our nerves, and that's something which we noticed back again on the 27th of September when Sayyed Hassan Nasrallah and his rafiqis were murdered, is the very fact that you cannot be supporting Palestine if you don't support Mihwar al-Mukawama. There is no dualism, right? And all those hypocrites who just try to feel guilty for saying, oh, I'm a European white person who feels now sad and appalled by seeing so many children starving, so many children being involved, and seeing, well, live streamed, right, and constantly showcased how they are displaying a genocide on my smartphone. Don't want to see this, please. Let's call for peace in an abstract manner. No. If we support Palestine, we need to support the ones who have given it all for Palestine. And they deserve it even more. If you have a tiny baby, a newborn person who can be abducted by someone, in this case being imperialism, and I want to state pretty clear there is only one imperialism, and it's directed by the IMF, the World Bank, and the NATO alliance, which holds maneuvers, by the way, in the Basque country, and we constantly hold protests since they are training, as they do, for instance, in Turkey as well. We return to our friend with the AKP, Erdogan, since the Zionist stand is too tiny, and well, that's the level of hypocrisy. And that's why we took to the streets, and we are also holding a vast array of several demonstrations in favor of the Iranian people, the Lebanese people, the Yemeni people who have been suffering since 2015 all the aggression, not only by Saudi, but by Morocco, who is so close to us, and they are oppressing the Western Sahara comrades as well of the Polisario, and we send a great greeting to them as well. And it's not something related to Palestine. We need to understand it goes beyond Bilad Hasham, and it goes beyond this region. If we understand who we need to support, if you have a tiny baby who is going to be abducted, you need to protect the ones who are protecting it. If Syria is fallen, as we are now, and so-called leftists who claim to be supporting Palestinian rights, and they are right now and back in December cheering on the Jolani gang, that's something unacceptable. We always expel them from our demonstrations. And it has to be, we don't want to apply violence, but they are very violent, and we need to be ready for it. Otherwise, they can swallow, they can start eating that terrain, and we will never let them, since that has happened on many European capitals, seeing acts in favor of Palestine, even in favor of so-called Mukawa, even though they tried to soften it, and they swallow it by bringing these flags of the three, well, I don't want to
the
call
French
it,
colonial flag
thank
of
you.
Syria.
It's not a flag, it's a cross.
Yeah.
Sure, and we will never accept that. And they have tried, but we have impeded it, since we have seen the shuhada right now, we have seen the martyrs, and the minimum we bear is just a tiny respect.
Well, this is very important for our viewers. We are very lucky to have you here in Beirut, so we can bring this information that is hidden. There was generations of Basque people, generations of Arabic people, Palestinians, generations of Iranians that grew up together on the struggle of liberation from imperialism and colonialism. And unfortunately, over the last two generations, it's almost lost, this knowledge or these connections in the public eye.
Indeed.
So our viewers are very lucky to have you here to bring back these important historical moments. And for the future, inshallah, the alliance will be re-strengthened between different resistance movements around the world, in Latin America, in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, against colonialism and imperialism. Asier, thank you very much for being with us. Have a nice trip back to Basque country, and we will come and visit you, inshallah, soon.
You are more than welcome, and we truly appreciate your words, and thanks again for, well, deeply for all the work you are carrying out. It's a duty which just resembles what all the world right now needs.
We do as much as our duty requires us to do. You are still watching Free Palestine TV. This is Laith Marouf. Behind the camera is Hadi. We ask you one more time to press the subscribe button on whatever social media platform you're watching this on, and to go to our website, freepalestine.video, to donate so we can continue bringing you this content. And until we see you next time, we bid you a free Basque and a free Palestine.
Inshallah.